Hey guys, this is Moms on Air.
Hi.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us again.
Today we have a special guest.
Yes, we do. A dear friend, a legend in the Latin community, right?
Role model.
In women. Let's
Inspiration.
erase the Latin part. Just like a powerful woman in entertainment and in the industry who helped elevate a lot of careers for people through her work in journalism and media and through her creative mind. We have here Miss EBBY Antigua.
Antigua.
Yes.
That is such a beautiful
nice
last
introduction.
name.
Such
I
an
need
honor
that.
to have you here with us.
You guys are so awesome. I love that introduction. It's like
thank
I need more of that.
Well,
the
just
TV
a
so we can see
reminder,
your
just in
face.
case you forgot.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's better.
Shreen, I just ate a cream cheese onion situation, so you're kind of close to me.
I'm sick, so I can't hear you. I can't smell anything.
But for those that are listening that don't know, I know a lot about your career, right? You've worked for many magazines that are very reputable. And most importantly, today you've launched your own brand. For a long time, we've heard this hashtag that you kind of started with your old company,
Right.
which I don't know, you want to
Yeah.
talk a little bit about your career in
my
a whole,
career in
not
a
just the one
whole.
place where.
Okay. So yeah, I started creating. Helped create Latina magazine with Christy Holberger. I was one of 5 of us girls. Christy Holberger was the founder of Latina magazine, and I remember when I started there, I was working another job, and I would go there at night. And we have to hustle, And I remember Christy asking me if I wanted to be the art director of Latina magazine. I'm like, yeah. And so all those nights going there and going down the train station from Washington Heights, where I used to live, and heading all the way downtown on 42nd Street and being there till like 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, sometimes 1 o'clock to get this magazine going. It was fun for me. It was really fun. It was something different. It was a magazine that I can relate to, so that was awesome. And then I was hired, and so and a lot of people don't know that I created the art department for Latina magazine. I created a department that people can be creative and be involved. Doing the covers with the celebrities, doing amazing covers, which is important. And from there, I worked there for a long, long time. I did a little freelance, graphic design freelance, because that's what I love doing. And then I ended up going to working mother because I ended up having a baby. And I needed like a 9-to-5 job. And working mother was one of those places that you can have a 9-to-5 job. And one of the things when I gave birth to the baby and I had to go back to work, one of the things that they did was they provided car service. And I'm like, what? Like car service? Like, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And it was great because when they provided car service, I would go there, I would bring my baby. Then you have the CFO taking care of my baby. Like,
Oh, wow.
hey, Abby, in the next office. I'm like, hey, Bruce, I have a meeting. Can you take care of my kid for a
That's
second?
such amazing. That's so
And
amazing.
that
Bring
was-
the baby wipes.
Yeah, bring the baby. And they loved her. They were just so happy to have her around. And it was just not only her. There was other kids around, which was like amazing. And then I was there for a long time, and I loved working with Working Mother because I needed women that were also like me in the entertainment business and media that had to figure out how to
Do both.
do both. Like, how do you do both? And I'm a Latina, and it's like my mom and dad. Hey, mom, dad, can you take care of my kids? Like, it's and of course Latinos, we all, the parents are like, yeah, let's take care. We'll take care of your kids. But there, again, you start feeling guilty, because it's like, God, I want to spend more time with my kids.
So, background-wise, you mentioned you're from Washington Heights.
Yes.
Are you Puerto Rican?
I'm Puerto Rican. I grew up in Washington Heights. I went to high school for art and design, high school, and I was always in the arts, School of Visual Arts. I went to Pratt because I wanted to do, of course, I wanted to design. I wanted to do something different. I loved magazines since I was a kid. I would get lost in magazines all the time. And so for me, that was like my getaway, And growing up in Washington Heights, of course, my parents were really strict. I didn't go out much and stuff. But, that's a Latino family. But it was just great to kind of, learn from, of course, we women are like, oh, I want to be a model, I want to do that. For me, it wasn't that. For me, it was like, I want to do this. I want to be behind the scene for this. I want, and reading about so many different things, it just inspires you. Kind of get lost in there, and you learn a lot. And so that's what now, I just wanted to bring up. I came up with EBBY magazine because it was my dream to have a magazine, and I wanted to do it a long time ago. And it kind of flourished now because at that time I lost a lot of friends, meaning in sickness. And I lost my dad, he passed away. I lost a friend from cancer. And I realized how, and that kind of slowed things down. And it kind of opened my eyes a lot in how life is, and meeting a lot of people in the industry, celebrities, working closely with celebrities and PR and people in general. I realized that everybody wants something. Everybody wants to have a little piece of their dream, right? And so I wanted to create not just a magazine, and I'm glad. And it's interesting how sometimes you think about, I want to do something and it's not the right moment. And I always say to my daughters, things happen for a reason. And that's my mantra. I don't know which each one of you, if you have a mantra, but my mantra says things happen for a reason. And so I was patient, and I learned from the experiences of losing friends, from sickness, losing my dad also, made me who I am now, which is loving, giving, sharing, is important to me. And that's why I created my magazine, which is called Luxury for the Soul. And we women, we like luxury things. And people were like, I remember Latina was like, oh, everything is so expensive. No, we need to inspire for that, right? And so if I love that Gucci bag that costs $5,000, hey, you'll find it somewhere in, Macy's or Walmart, whatever, something sort of the same, and kind of work with that. But it's just loving what you love and inspiring. And I think, being more inspired, seeing things and not being afraid.
And I
Go ahead.
And I think that's so important, because I feel like, with Moms on Air, our goal is to kind of uplift and bring moms together. And I feel like there are so many women still out there that try to tear women apart. And it's so amazing to hear that there is a woman from, that's been successful, uplifting and finding the beauty in women and sharing it with the world. I think that's so important, and we thank you for that.
Oh, thank you. I'm always here for any of you girls too.
So Luxury for the Soul, that's the name of your new magazine?
Yeah, it's called EBBY, and it's interesting because it took me a while too, because I didn't know what name to call it, right? And I'm like, what am I going to call it? I'm not Oprah. Nobody knows who EBBY is. But a friend of mine told me, and I also have the tag obsession, and I still have that. I still carry it with me. It's part of the magazine also. Obsession is like EBBY and obsession put together. And an old boss of mine who was the editor-in-chief many years ago at Latina magazine, we're friends. I was like, Sylvia, I need a name. What should I do? She goes, well, I think you should do obsession. I was like, that's kind of weird. No one really likes, that's kind of corny, kind of, And she goes, no, it's fun because it's it's your name, and you can ask the celebrities what they're obsessed about. You're always around them. You know their secrets. I'm like, oh, that's actually cool. And that's how I became Obsession. She came up with that name. And I want to give her props to Sylvia for
That's
that.
not corny. That's really cool. Sometimes corny things work.
Exactly. It's like a brand.
So background story, because we don't brag about ourselves, right? So EBBY, right, you kind of were instrumental in putting people on covers, getting the right stories, just creatively with the magazine, implementing new ideas, ways of working, and things like that. So I want to say, especially in the Latin market and in Hollywood Latinos, not just local, but internationally, you've done a lot for a lot of people's career, and kind of have been, for some people, you land a cover and then you start booking everything and your life changes. So Obsession definitely is a cultural thing in the Latin community, where if you have a moment, like a EBBY moment, then you're you've made it. Right, the cover of Latina, or a mention, or a whatever it is, there's high profile people on there. So taking that, and now you're launching a full brand with that.
A full brand that, going back with my name, I said, well, let's I said, well, why not EBBY? Because every celebrity I work with, they're like, "Where's Ebby coming from? Like, where is it?" Okay, I'm gonna tell you, my real name is EBBY Linda. And my mom always, and it's so funny, it's like Belinda at Belinda. And I'm like, okay, I can't. And so my mom always called me Abby and my sisters. And so I'm like, I was like, well, I don't know if I want to do Abby. Nobody, like, I'm not Oprah. And then my sister goes like, Abby, Abby is your name, and it's different. And when I worked with the celebrities, they would ask me, oh, Abby, that's different. Where's that from? And I kind of like, you know what, why not? But it's not really about my name. It's more about the tagline that I created, which is luxury for the soul. And that's why the first issue, when I launched it, I didn't put my picture on the editor's letter because I didn't want people to relate. It's not about me. It's about inspiring women and motivating women. And everyone has a story. You have a story. I mean, like, just coming here and listening to each of, before we, got on air, I'm just like in awe of what your careers are. Like, it's incredible. You girls are like amazing. And
thank you.
And I love that because you guys, you ladies, when you're talking about your career, I can see the passion in each one of you, which inspires also me. Even though you think I'm this like big thing, I don't. We all sometimes feel like, we always need something, right?
Yeah.
And so you ladies inspire me. Like, I'm sitting there and I'm watching, like, wow, that's great. And it touches you. You come with, like, when you have a clothing line and all the stuff that you do and your organization and you with your thing, your block and all the mom stuff. I'm like, wow, like, that motivates me to do even more, right? And it's not just, and I think we Latinas have the tendency of competing with each other. And I try so hard to teach other women and show them, just like, it's like my dad used to say, you do it and then people will follow, right? And if I can motivate each one of you or give you something that I can share that can help elevate you and motivate you, I will do it.
Yeah.
I
love the luxury for the soul because you compare it to like wanting something that's $5,000, right? And then you could get something similar for a least price, and that all has to do with like your inner soul, like how you feel about yourself inside, not the value of what the item that you like. So I love that because it's so hard to get to that point, not only materialistic stuff, but in everything, as a woman, as a mom, as a wife, you're always like, we're really hard on ourselves. And going back to the Latina magazine, as growing up, I think that was the only magazine that I ever felt like represent us. Like, I used to, in high school, I guess, Teen Vogue or Cosmopolitan or like, there was a magazine called 17 magazine, I think it was. Yeah. So like,
They never catered to Hispanics,
right, so then I remember
right.
Latina magazine. Latina magazine was the only magazine that really had like bilingual articles, right? Which was like the biggest thing that's enough. So you actually read something that sounded like you.
That's how I learned to even read Spanish while working in Latina. It was like having like English, and then they would have translate. At that time, they would translate it. And I would sit with the copy editor, the Spanish copy editor. I'm like, how do you say that? And I was like, sort of like the Washington Heights, in Washington, the Dominicans. I would like, no. And they were like, no, that's how you say it.
Let's look back for when you started and look how much our Washington Heights has grown. I'm from Dykeman, so.
Let me tell you, Washington Heights has evolved. And
it's one of the most expensive places to live now.
Exactly.
It is. And going back to how we compete with each other, a lot of the businesses that we have opened as minorities are coming down and getting shut down because we're not working together.
Yes.
And they only expose the negative part of it because we're not a family. Like, if we were a family, we were not so ready about like, oh, this one's making more, this one has this, or this one's selling more. I'm talking more about the club industry. And there's
some flavor. We have talent.
And all the restaurants, all the stuff, everybody wants a little piece of us because we bring a whole bunch of different cultures together into this Dykeman setting.
That's why you see so many celebrities. Like, now, recently, I feel like I've been seeing Meek Mill and Jay-Z and Beyonce and Dasha. So many people that are like high-profile celebrities going to these Washington Heights places. We
have the women, we have the food, we have the
music. I mean, Latin culture is so amazing because I feel like there's such a selection in everything, right? Every country is a whole different process, but we all are united in things like that, like the way we party, the way we eat, like the way our beauty and everything. So it's just amazing to have like a brand that represented kind of all of that for everybody, and for a long time probably like championing like us as women too. Environment wise, was it a lot of women for the magazine, or was it a mix? Or like...
Yeah, actually there was a lot. There were probably maybe like 4 guys or 2 guys at, at a time. One guy would go, and then one guy. So there wasn't a lot of. I think at the end there was maybe about 5 guys, or 5 to 6 guys, because there were guys in sales and design.
But the majority were women.
So
and it was
dope.
fun environment. I'll tell you, it was fun because it was like when I worked in the corporate world and the, like working mother and the Caucasian, it was a little different. It was a little corporate kind of. And we Latinas, we have like, again, like we wake up, we come to work, and then you feel like we're a family. You feel like you're walking into your aunt's house or your, because the first thing you do, you start talking in Spanish, right? It's like, and no one gets offended, So that was actually fun. And I sometimes will get out of my office and do some skits, and because I also used to do improvisational acting. And so I would sometimes, when it was quiet, I was like, it's too quiet in here. And so I would have a friend come, who says she lives in Florida. She would come visit, she would come in to have meetings, and she would come to me, and we were, all of a sudden, we were like, jugaste la loto, no, mija, pero no fui para la tienda. And we would start talking and start doing a little improv acting, and just getting lost and being and like going to the hood or the bodega and talk about like la lota, no juguete número 499, 50-50, and we start and then all of a sudden you see all the girls that are working, they're quiet working, they get up and they start laughing. It's just like that moment. And then I would love to do that because it was like, don't forget where we're from. We love, laughter. We love to be happy, and it's important, and also in a work environment.
And bringing in tradition.
And it was great because, we would talk about a lot of things and share a lot of things, which was nice. And so it was a good team.
I think you definitely broke barriers. You definitely did, and that's really dope.
Thank you. And that's why EBBY Magazine, I decided to do multicultural, because I think now it's, yes, Latina Magazine was an amazing magazine. I think we Latinas need to support each other. And, I think the Latin community should be really strong together. But we also now, how things are going now, and I'm not going to bring politics into this, but we multicultural need to sit together, women.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The African Americans, the Asians, the Caucasians, we need to stick together as women.
Yeah. And it's so much interracial marriages and our kids, and in order to show, like, we lead by example in our household as mothers. So, like, your habits and your routines, your kids pick up on them. So when you bring that, like you said, bringing into minorities together, no matter if it's Latina or, African Americans, whatever it is, when you bring them together, your kids is going to have the same thing when they come out to the world.
Oh, yes. You're 100% right, because that's one of the things I taught my daughters, never to judge. It doesn't matter who they are, they're just, and I always gave them the examples, like, just imagine, just don't look at their face, just imagine they're just like you don't know what their story is. Maybe she was upset with you, but find out why, if that person is bullying you. Maybe she has, maybe she doesn't have a mom or a dad, or maybe, she does right now. She doesn't, going to go home and she has nothing to eat, or, there's always a story behind everybody. And I always tend to use that also in adult life. Like when someone is very like mean, I always say, you know what, that person must have a bad day today, or something's going
Well, that takes a lot of discipline,
it does
but
take a lot of
especially in
discipline.
adulthood.
It does.
I don't
It's
know if I'm going
hard.
to
I
agree
know.
with you in that type of attitude, but you're right.
But you know what? It takes time to get there.
Yes,
and I've
it
learned
does.
to get there because of a lot of people I've lost from
because life
sickness.
is short,
Life is too short.
So arguing and
arguing
holding
and stuff,
grudges and
why
stuff
hold
like
grudges?
that.
Like, let it go. Because remember, when you hold grudges,
You're
lose
hurting yourself more.
You're hurting
Yeah.
yourself more, right?
Yeah.
And so that is what's about, is like letting go all that anger and do you. Like it's like, everyone says, you do you, boo. So you do you. That's what's important. You know what I mean?
She's so cute.
And
I can't.
that's my mantra is like things happen for a reason in our life, right? And so we learn from each other.
I feel like as a woman, for you, right? You were a mom, and then your career kind of flourished. How, like, what advice can you give to like that mom who, because this is a big role and probably a male-dominated role for a long time, and now there's these women in this platform doing things that men would do. Like, what advice would you give to like that mom with the 2 daughters that still has her dream? Because you live the dream, and you're a full-time mom, and you're a working mom.
Yeah.
And a minority.
Well, first of all,
being a wife is a lot of work, especially the way we were brought up. We were brought up to take care of our home, take care of your family, to take care of your man.
Yes.
And then anything you want to do in your life and your career is like último, the last,
You're the last one.
So it's a lot.
The last one where your plate is half empty.
You're like, in 19 years, you can go back to that idea, okay?
Exactly. No, it's interesting. Well, I have to give props to my husband because, he has been the core that's been holding everything together, who's been supporting me forever, for a long time. We've been married for a very long time. And he's like my best friend. And he used to tell me when I used to forget things with my kids, my 2 daughters, he would say to me, that's why there's 2 parents. But then
That's so amazing.
But
Can we bring him next time?
I think a lot of dads need to hear that.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? You should do a special and bring him in.
And keyword is best friend. I always say that. Like, if you can be my best friend, you can be my partner.
Yes. And for the moms that don't have support, because I have friends that are single moms, there are times it is hard. It is hard, but you have to also think that, God has a plan for you, right? And you have to have faith and have gratitude. You have a beautiful kid, a baby, and a boy or girl, whatever. You have that, and yes, maybe you don't have a husband, but and then there's a song. There's a beautiful song that every time I hear the song, I wish I would remember that name. It's about this, and it's
That always happens when you know the
know
song.
it's a great song that every time I hear it, I cry, and my daughter's like, "What are you doing, Ma?" Like, I'm like, "Oh no, this is such a sad song," but it's a song about it's like finding God and not and I don't want to like because people have different religion, but it's basically like that baby, that kid that you have is going to be your best friend, and you're going to teach everything to that kid. That is that is your soul, that is part of you, right? And so then you have more time to spend with that kid. You know what I mean? That's something special, because as my husband and I, we kind of divide the but when you're a single mom, you have much more time with your kid, which is
Just
a
more
special
one-on-one.
thing. There's
Yeah.
more one-on-one, so you got to look at it in a positive, right?
Look
right?
the positive in everything.
Right.
Yeah. I say, or sometimes I'm sorry, I say that if I was to spend the rest of my life with my son, like retire and travel the world with him, like I'm content with that. Because friends ask me sometimes, "Do you want to remarry you?" And if it happens, great. And if it doesn't, it's great too, because he's the priority at this point. So I get your point.
And going back to your question, how to be in your industry and be a mom, and how I did it. I kind of like, and depends on how young your kid, kind of introduce your kid to what you do. I'll tell you a story which is hilarious. You had to bring your daughter to, it's like that daughter, you bring your kids to work day. Yeah. And I remember bringing my daughter in, and I was so excited because I want to show them the cover I designed. And so I was so excited. So I brought all the kids in, to my office. And I'm like, so this is what you do. You take the picture, you put it in this program, and I'm so excited. And then I hear one kid going, boring. and I'm like, who's that kid? And then of course I look, and it was my daughter. So it's hilarious. So that's and sometimes you got to think about stuff like that, like how kids make you laugh, and how though I tried to introduce her to my field, there were times that she would say it was boring, she didn't want to do, but I would bring her to shoots with the celebrities.
Now that was fun.
And that was fun. Like she got to meet.
And you're like the whole world thinks you're cool. You just want those cool mommy points.
I
Right?
just
Like,
want
is
to cool
this
mommy
cool,
because to this, kids are always like, you're not cool, right? But I learned to kind of like introduce my kids what I do and have their. I mean, there are times like when you work so hard and you come home late and you don't sit with your kids to have dinner, but I always make sure to go ask my kids, hey, how was your day? We forget that. And another thing I've learned that I do with my kids, I apologize because we Latinos, I remember my parents never apologized. What?
My
Apologize?
mother still don't apologize.
they don't
me.
apologize.
They don't know what that word means in my family. They don't say sorry. What?
Because that's how you raise. You raise like you don't look at them in your eyes. Like that's like, well, you look down, right? And you can't look right in their eyes when you're like telling something. No, you're wrong. You can't even tell them you're wrong. But I told my kids that I had to take like what's that word, like when you do something, you make a mistake, you just own it, right? So I had to own my mistakes and the things. And so if I would just like snap on them for a second because I was stressed at work, whatever, I would go back to their room, knock on their room, and I was like, hey, you know what, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And I explain why I'm sorry. Not just like, I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry because I shouldn't have, yelled at you. I shouldn't have whatever it was. I shouldn't, taken, I should have taken time to even listen to what you had to say first before I snapped. And I snapped because, you know what, mommy's tired. I've been working so hard, and kind of explain what you go through, because you're human too, right? And I think they'll start,
I think that shows a lot of respect because I think that's so important for a lot of moms to hear because we all have that bad mom moment that you scream or you're frustrated, and it's not your child's fault,
Right.
I mean, I have a little kid, so it's
Sometimes
not like he understands
it is.
anything. I mean, sometimes it is, but then you could have argued with your boyfriend, or you could have argued with a coworker at work, or you could have lost something, or you're expecting this dress to come in and it doesn't come in, and you have to look for an outfit. It could be the silliest thing, but then you take out your anger on always the people that you love. Like me and my husband, we're like really close, but we fight a lot too when we're upset. Like, because he vents to me and I vent to him, and then we just forget about it and we kind of apologize, Sometimes we'll be like, 1, 2, 3, say sorry, and he'll be like, 1, 2, 3, you're sorry. My husband, that's definitely his style. But
you're sorry.
So we
But
move.
that's a healthy relationship.
Yeah, there are two
That's
kids.
another
We
big
are
segment
two
because
kids.
You have to like own it. You have to argue. You can't be perfect. In a
Yeah, no, there's
relationship.
no perfect relationship.
No.
That doesn't exist. And whoever says that is lying.
Yeah,
It doesn't
exactly.
exist. But I think that's important for moms out there to listen to that. Okay, it's okay to apologize to your kid. It's okay, because my mom never would have apologized. Till this day, she'll never say sorry. She's wrong. She'll just stay quiet. She won't say anything.
She
It's
isn't
sad 'cause
wrong.
you see it.
Never.
You see it when if you're in a train station or on a bus. You see like a mom snapping on your mom, snapping on their kids, and and it's hard. I know they go through a lot, but it's important to. And I know moms like I'm the mom. Like no, they need to respect me. You have that mentality. They're human beings, and that's the only way you're gonna teach them to. They also have. They also get hurt
Feelings. They
and
also have
feelings.
feelings.
So you need to apologize. And I used to I apologize to my kids when they were like 5 years old too. Like when they were like they can talk, and I would apologize and I would explain why. And I would like. And another thing, I would put myself in their level, and I will. If I had to kneel down, I will kneel down so I'm eye to eye with them, and say I am sorry. And that's something and I'm so grateful for that because, now they do that to me. If they're upset with me, they'll come to me, go, I'm sorry, Mom, and they'll hug me, And so I taught them that. And that's
communication.
It's communication is so
I'm
important.
like taking notes.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try this method. This is good. Awesome. I know for me, even the beginning of this school year, I don't know where I was. I think like a work trip or something, but I missed like back to school night. And I felt so guilty. I was like, oh my God, I'm
I've
going to be
missed a
the
couple of
only
those. Don't
not
worry about
mom
it.
there. But luckily, like Ray went and it was great. But I still felt like bad mommy moment number 129. Like, oh my God. Like, and sometimes when you're a working mom, you miss a lot of those amazing moments. And kids, they're not going to remember that whatever, you got to pay the light bill and you got to work.
Yeah.
Or they're just going to know that you weren't there. So for the working mom who constantly has to miss those moments, it's hard.
It's hard, but I'll tell you something that I've learned. You need to take care of you. Because I've noticed, and I've gone through it too, when you have your baby, you kind of lose yourself. You don't fix your hair. You don't get your hair dyed. You gain a little weight. You're looking like a hot mess. And when you start doing that, then you take it out on the kid, and you realize like, no. And so you need to stop and say, you know what? I'm going to take care of me. You have to look amazing and not feel guilty, because if you're looking amazing and you taking care of you, then you're gonna be 100% really like down. Like you're gonna have that heart to take care of your kid. You're gonna be happy. You know, you're gonna feel good about yourself. But when you're feeling down, and then you see your kid come in, and you're like, oh my God, I have to deal with you too. Like, you know what I mean? Another poop diaper. Damn it, you know, I have to. And then you're looking like a hot mess. It's not gonna help. And that's why I always remind women that you can't lose yourself. You know, I always say men age gracefully. Like women, it's kind of hard. Like, they always say, that's like a saying. I don't know if you, but you have, men, they do age gracefully. And women, we have to work on it. And
my grandmother always used to say, like, women with gray hair are old women. Men with gray hair are interesting.
Isn't it? It's saying your grandmother. They're good looking, they're gorgeous, they look great, you know. But
a woman with gray hair es una vieja.
Una vieja, ya está, forget about it. But you need to take care of you. When you take care of you and you look amazing, then
that's what you give off. Amazing.
And not only that, you teach your daughters or even your son, you're like, wow,
appreciate my mom, women.
Appreciate, because when they grow up, they're gonna find a woman, not a hot mess, but someone like, oh, that girl takes care of herself. Because it's important when you take care of yourself, you're more you have confidence, and you do a lot more in this world, because there's so much to do in this world, right? So you have to have confidence.
I think as a woman that's important, because when you do feel like, oh, today I look good, right? Like I got my hair done, my nails look great.
Don't
like
you
walk into work, like who needs to see that I look amazing and let's get this work done.
You know you feel good when you do your hair, you walk out, and all of a sudden, like, I feel like brand new, like, squeaky new.
Yeah.
Like a superhero.
Who is
superhero, right?
It's funny because in the beginning of the year, we all said, like, kind of the goals that we wanted to accomplish that year. So normally in the past, our goals were always material things. And like things like, I want to buy a house, I want a car, I want this, I want that, I want a Chanel bag, whatever. Right. And then now... that's on the list too, honey. I mean, I'm just listening. But... no, we were talking, and so Valerie said that she wanted happiness, and Stephanie said that she wanted peace, and I wanted self-love. These are the things that we asked for this year, and we were like, oh my God, we're like big girls now, we're adults, because look at what we're asking. And if you asked me 5 years ago, none of those things were on our list. I can, those things were not important or value. It was shoes and business and making more money at work. Chips. Like the fun things. And this is what we want. Like, she wants true happiness in all aspects of life. Because like you said, if you're happy, then you give off happy vibes. Yeah. If you have peace in your life, you feel like,
you know, it's gratitude too. You have to have gratitude, because even the little things that you have, I'm grateful for still having my mom. God bless her, she's still alive. I have my husband and my kids. And so I wake up in the morning and I make sure that I give my gratitude. I'm grateful for this. I'm grateful for, my husband working and supporting, helping me out, launching this magazine. And I'm grateful for my kids. And you have to be grateful, because when you put that in the universe, it always comes back in so many. Happiness will come along, self-love will come along, and yours was peace will come along, right? And so you need to kind of put yourself ground yourself and say, okay, I don't have this brand new car, I don't have this job that I want, I don't have that bag that I want, but it's not about that. It's about being surrounded with family, friends, because we only live one time in this world. This is not practice, right? They always say this is not practice. This is so you have to take. This is it, right? Mm-hmm. So this is a moment. So every moment counts, right? So you need to start. And I think, it's like you say, the older you grows up, you're older, and now this is what you're asking, which is amazing, because then you start feeling good, right? And then everything else will come along. I bet you 100% everything will come along. I've experienced it. Things will come along. It's funny because I'm touching my necklace, and in this necklace, Gina Rodriguez gave me this necklace, and she goes, I can, and I will, right? Mm-hmm. And so when I started my magazine, and I always wear it, is to remind me I can and I will, right? Mm-hmm. Because there are times, you wake up in the morning, nothing is, it's hard. You have your kids, you have your husband, you have so much going on that you have to remind yourself, okay, I will push myself. I will do this. You need to get out of bed and give, be thankful that you're healthy, right? You have a family, you have a roof over your
That
head.
you woke up.
And that you woke up, and you're not sick or anything like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so those are the things, I and bringing this up, I lost my sister-in-law in the World Trade Center, right? And that was hard because she left 2 kids behind. And she woke up in the morning and she said, hey, make sure you do your peanut butter sandwich. I got to run. And she ran. She make your sister peanut butter sandwich. And she went out the door and never came back. And so what she taught me, and I it's interesting because people go, wow, you had so many people leave this world. But I learned from each people. Like from her, I learned that I make time to say goodbye to my kids. I don't rush out the door. Because we're always rushing out the door, right? We're running late. We're rushing. You're late already. 5 minutes or 2 minutes of your time to say, hey, I love you. Have a great time in school. You got to you got to talk to your kids. Every day I come and I tell my kids, well, how did school? How was your day? Mm-hmm. You have to ask your kids, how was your day? When you're walking out the door, I always tell my kids, I call my husband, like, tell my daughter to come up because she didn't say bye to me. I make sure, like, I was in the kitchen. She didn't say bye, and so I make sure that I say bye to my kids and say, have a great day. Give them a kiss and say, have a great day, because you never know. So
That's
I learned
amazing.
that from her, and I share
Those
that
are
with
such good tips and points, because those are such small things to do that don't even take any energy, but make such a big impact in what your child is going through too, like those little things can make them feel, or like, it's just amazing.
It's those little things. My best friend who died of cancer at age 35, one of the things that she wanted to do, she wanted to be a lawyer, right? And she worked in an office, one of those law offices. And I said, well, you can do it. You can do it. Then a couple of years, years later, she ended up having cancer. And it was a quick cancer. From the month she told me, and then 3 months later, she left. And she waited so long. So what I learned from her was, like, do it now. Don't wait. And don't be afraid. Just jump in, because what is fear? Fear of losing your life. Fear of, like, not ever doing it, right? And that made me realize, okay, I got to do what I wanted to do, and I got to do it now, right? So I learned that from her. From another friend, from my dad, my dad was, typical, Puerto Rican dad who was like, he loved to tell jokes. He was funny, caring. He loved people. He was a people person, and that's where I got my thing from him. He's a people person. We would go and buy him, like, expensive, sandals, from Bloomingdale's, like the really nice one, because we want a Latino dad too to have the best thing. So we would go, my sisters and I would chip in and we'd get nice sandals, because my dad was like, no. So he would go and he would not wear those sandals, and he would go to the dollar store, the brown ones with the stitches that every Latino dad has.
Those are his favorites.
That when they walk, you hear it, you hear him coming.
My dad still got those.
Exactly. And so that was his thing. He's like, why? This is not broken. I love these. And he was a very simple man. He says, I don't need anything out of this world because I'm not taking it with me. And when he passed away, I saw that.
He had a luxury soul.
He had a luxury soul. And my mom wanted to put something with him, and the guy says, no, you can't put anything. And then when he said that, I was like, damn, my dad used to say that. You don't take things with you. And so I learned from him to let go of things. Like that, he taught me. So I don't I don't hold on to things. My aunt will come, she goes, ay, nena, me gusta esa, pues llévalo, tortilla. No, I said, no, llévatelo. It could be the whole, like, a whole ottoman. Llévatelo, pon en el carro, llévatelo. Because for me, she loved it more than me. And I'm like, I don't have to hold on to things. Those are materialistic things.
That's so important now.
It's so important, right?
For me, for myself, I love, like, expensive
I love
things.
my stuff.
Right.
And, but if we had...
Yeah, Sheree, don't lie. Don't lie, Sheree. I mean, it's great that she's in that space, but we are not. Do not lie. Because I don't let my sister, like, fight all the time. She wears all my stuff.
I love nice things. That's what I began with. Let me finish. I love nice things. But I do feel, with today's society... Look at me.
You gotta play the part.
With today's society and social media, I know has a big impact. It makes you feel better when you have nice things, and when people see that you have nice things. But if we, all of us, and I'm saying just the society, the generation now. I said everybody. No, but if we all didn't really care so much about, it's so hard because of the way the world's evolving and how important and impactful social media is. But if we really didn't care what people think, then think about, would you have a Chanel bag if nobody really cared?
Yeah, I
But
would.
here's the thing: it's how you wear it. I'll tell you this with fashion because I did fashion at where.
It is how you wear. You could buy something cheap and it could look better than.
I've worked in so many photo shoots, and I've seen like with every celebrity when a stylist is putting something on, they put a shirt backwards. And they'll photograph it and it looks freaking amazing. I'm like, that shirt is backwards. Or they'll put something that's really cheap and then it looks amazing and everybody loves it. It's just how you wear it. I think you don't have. I told my daughters that.
Es la percha, like they say, right?
Percha. It's like how it's the confidence.
Like the hanger. It's not what you're wearing, it's who's wearing it. Yeah,
You know what? For you saying that, like just the way in how media worked before, where images were controlled, and there was like a big company like a Hearst or whatever that told us what perfection needed to look like. Well, now that's like attainable, and each person is a brand, and each grid on your social is that magazine cover for the day, and people are in debt, not paying their rent or their kids' clothes because they want this Chanel bag. Right. And it's all about an image and a perception. And
but
the craziest
thing
is
you lose
that
yourself.
everybody's so
But
depressed.
I don't feel like people, that's an extreme,
everyone,
but I feel like we
should.
shouldn't, a lot of people are, no, you're right. But I don't feel like we need to feel guilty for liking nice things.
Oh no!
And I absolutely love it. I've been checking you out, girls. Very cute. But I'm like, I have like things that I love. Like I love jewelry and I love bags.
Right.
Like bags is my thing, you know.
I love jewelry.
But you could catch me in a Fashion Nova outfit 7 days a week with a $5,000 purse and a $26.
But you're not gonna skip your bill.
No, absolutely. I don't think I remember the last time I bought a bag for myself. They always been gifts. Hello.
No, the smart way to get it. No, it's just prioritizing. I get what you're saying. Like, you seeing how luxury is sold. It's okay to have nice things. I don't want women to out there to be like, oh no, if you have a Chanel bag, you're self-centered. No, because I love nice things. We all have expensive stuff.
Birkin. We're putting things into the universe. I'm just saying.
It's just not taking what I think we're trying to say, and what you're trying to say is not taking those things and defining you. Like, that could be an accessory, but that's not who you are. Like, whether the woman who has a Chanel bag and the woman who has a Payless pair of shoes is the same person. It's just an accessory that you like.
Yeah.
You mix it up. You can have a Payless pair of shoes and a $5,000 bag.
Hey, I grew up on Payless my whole life.
Yeah. I think,
I still walk fine. Nothing changed.
Learning a lot with all the stylists, I've learned, people are like, oh my God, Abby, you're just so nice. And I'm like, girl, this shirt was like $20 and this and that.
I get that all the time with my Fashion Nova.
What's important is how you wear it and how and be confident and it's your taste, right? So if you can go ahead and buy those things, it's good to have. And that's what I'm saying, luxury for the soul is like, I can go get a $10 candle and light that up, and that's gonna make me damn happy, right? That's gonna make me happy that moment. And there'll be a time like, I want that Gucci bag, and that's fine too.
I think she wants a Gucci bag because she said it like 4 times.
We're bringing that shit for 2019. Valentine's Day.
Luxury for the soul is so unique, and I feel like
I love it.
Basically transcends gender and age, and that could be for a kid, it could be for a teen, for a woman.
Every page in the magazine, this issue is 150 pages.
150 pages.
150 pages is $9.99. But girl, if you're gonna buy that hamburger, buy the $9.99 because that luxury for the soul.
First of all, you can't even go to McDonald's now and get a meal for $9.99. You could get a magazine that has so much information for only $10. Like,
thank you.
You're not gonna go digest and have diarrhea. Eat getting a magazine. This is beneficial.
It's you know what? In the issue, we're mentioning amazing person. A lot of beautiful people we're mentioning. There's Sal Velez, who's a male, and it's a female. It's a women's magazine, but I also want to bring perspective of a men's perspective, right? Because we women want to know how they do it, how the guys do it. And so Sal Velez is an amazing actor. He's now working with Ben Affleck, and he's done a lot of Netflix movies. He has a beautiful story, right? And how he's made it from the Chicago hood and how he's made it to Hollywood. And then we have Hanson, who is he used to be a Japanese actor, and now he does this amazing spirituality healer, and it just, you got to read the magazine. And so every page in the top is this luxury for fashion. It will have a quote, and so every time you flip the pages, it's just you have the content or whatever it is, but then you have a quote on the top, because we women love to, it's just a reminder, those quotes about life.
I love planners like that. I have those
Right? Those
inspiration quotes. I just posted like 7 of them that I have. It's insane.
And so that's something to motivate, and that's what the magazine's about. So every page you flip will have a quote to motivate you, plus the content that you see, the newest shoes, inspirational. Chris Lee is an inspirational speaker, and he works with the celebrities. So he's telling you how to live your life. And it's just so inspiring to hear people's lives and how they got there, right? And that's what's about.
Yeah.
It's about learning from each one of you.
Luxury for the soul. Like what you have is a gift that you're able to, let's say, tell Stephanie's story and her autism awareness. You have a platform. You're providing a platform.
Yes.
And you are a visionary, because you can look at Shireen and look like, girl, that brand is great. And you're able to, share so many stories and uplift and share the message. How do you purchase the magazine?
Oh, so you go to EBBYmagazine.com, and it's there.
It's
EBBY magazine.com. Yeah.
Excellent.
And,
Well, congratulations. I would definitely be checking it out.
Yes, and we're so excited. We got EBBY here.
I know. What an honor. Thank you.
We're BFFs now. We're going for drinks uptown.
Yes. Definitely bring it back to where it all started.
Well, I would say thank you for having me here.
No, thank you for coming with us.
Yes, thank you. I really appreciate
an
it.
amazing platform also.
Thank
that
you.
We should, all women out there can hear, like, just support each other. That, for me, that's a gift. If we support each other, we are beautiful.
We could take out over the
we can
world.
take over the world.
Yes.
I think especially this episode is so therapeutic for a lot of moms, because you never know what a mother's going through or how her day started.
Yeah.
And just to hear sometimes things, and just having a different perspective in some situations, like just saying thank you or even apologizing to your kid will change so much in your day-to-day life. It's in the guilt. Sometimes you feel guilty.
Yeah.
And even holding grudge. Like me, for example, I could hold grudge forever. And that's not a good thing. And, you're right, because it takes a part of you. If you just let go, shit happens. Fuck it.
You gotta apologize.
Maybe we should make a list after this, Shireen, and see who people we want to take a grudge of. She knows who I'm talking about.
Inspiring mom, graphic designer, mother turned visionary of Latina, now launching her own brand. Thank you for providing.
Thank you. You're amazing. This has been Moms on Air.
Oh, do you want to do it with us? So at the end of our podcast, we always say Moms on Air.
You don't have to say it like in a singing voice like Shireen, but you're always singing.
All right, y'all make it. You know what? I'm going to just let that slide.
All right, so 1, 2, 3. Moms on Air.
It's because, I sound like Fran. That's the problem.
No, you don't.
Yes, you see? Everyone says that. And Fran always sounds like she's singing, but she's not.
I love Fran.
All right. I love your voice. All right, guys. Bye.